The sun dripped gold onto the green canvas of a sprawling garden as a little girl in a bright yellow dress, named Kate, wandered amongst the flowers. Her small hands brushed against velvety petals, her laughter as light as the butterflies flitting around her. Deep within the leafy shadows, nestled beneath a bush heavy with blossoms, she spotted a tiny ball of fur. It was a puppy, no bigger than her two hands clasped together, its whimpers soft and lost. Kate's heart melted. Carefully, she scooped up the trembling creature, its fur the color of a stormy sky. She decided to name him Shadow. Shadow quickly became Kate's inseparable companion. Back home, he patted softly behind her, his tail thumping a happy rhythm against the wooden floors. They spent hours in joyful play, Kate giggling as Shadow chased after rolling balls and playfully nipped at her fingers. He was her confidant, her furry shadow, always there to listen to her childish secrets and dreams. But the warmth of their days was often shadowed by the darkness that fell with her father's return. His footsteps were heavy with the weight of gambling debts and the bitter taste of cheap liquor. The house, once filled with Kate's innocent laughter, would then echo with his harsh voice, his anger often directed at the small, furry presence he saw as another mouth to feed, another burden. "Get rid of that mutt!" he'd roar, his eyes clouded with displeasure, ignoring Kate's tearful pleas. One evening, Kate overheard a hushed phone conversation. Her father's voice, usually gruff, was now sly and calculating. "Yes, a gray puppy, good size now, tomorrow at the market? Perfect." A cold dread washed over Kate. She knew he was going to sell Shadow. Her small heart pounded in her chest like a trapped bird. Tears welled in her eyes, but a fierce determination sparked within her. She wouldn't let him. Quickly and quietly, she began gathering her few precious belongings: a worn-out storybook, a small, hand-carved wooden bird, and a half-eaten bag of her favorite candies. Shadow, sensing her distress, nudged her hand with his wet nose. She hugged him tightly. "We're leaving, Shadow," she whispered. "We'll go somewhere he can't find us." Hand in paw, they slipped out of the house, the moon casting long, eerie shadows ahead of them. But their escape was short-lived. Her father stood like a looming figure at the front gate, his silhouette stark against the dim porch light. "Where do you think you're going?" His voice was low and dangerous. Defeated, Kate and Shadow were led back inside. "Go to your room," he ordered, his gaze hard. "And take that dog with you. You'll both sleep here tonight." Tears streamed down Kate's face as she lay on her small bed. Shadow nestled close beside her, licking away her tears with a comforting warmth. Fear not at her. Each sobbed a silent prayer for a different tomorrow. When morning finally broke, a heavy silence hung in the air. Kate woke with a start, her eyes immediately searching for Shadow. But his usual warm presence beside her was gone. Panic seized her. She called his name, her voice trembling, but only silence answered. A terrible certainty washed over her. Her father, the market, the conversation. With a surge of desperate energy, Kate ran out of the house, her yellow dress a fleeting splash of color as she made her way towards the bustling animal market. From a distance, her heart lurched. Through the window of a small, crowded pet shop, she saw him, her father, and next to him, a familiar gray form. Shadow! Her breath hitched, and a sob escaped her lips. She didn't think, she just ran, her small legs pumping, her bare feet pounding on the dusty ground. Tears blurred her vision as she reached the shop, her voice a choked cry, "Shadow." She threw herself forward, clutching the leash that was now held by her father. Her small hands gripped the worn leather tightly, her knuckles white. "No, Papa, please. Don't sell him." Her voice was a broken whisper, laced with desperate pleas. Her father's face was set in a hard line. He tried to pry her fingers from the leash, his movements rough and impatient. "Kate, let go. This is for the best." "No, please," she cried, her small body shaking with sobs. She reached into the pocket of her yellow dress and pulled out the few coins she had saved, scattering them on the ground. "Please, Papa. Here, take my money. Please don't take Shadow." Anger flashed in her father's eyes. He roughly pulled the leash from her grasp, handing it to the shopkeeper. "He's sold," he stated coldly, turning away from his daughter's heart-wrenching cries. Kate stood there, frozen in disbelief, as the shopkeeper led Shadow away. Then, with a raw, primal scream, she began to run, following the shopkeeper as he put Shadow into the back of a van. Through the dusty window of the van, she caught a fleeting glimpse of Shadow's sad, bewildered eyes. Her father pocketed the money, his face devoid of emotion as he left his daughter standing alone amidst the noise and bustle of the market, her small frame racked with sobs. The world swam around Kate. The sounds of the market faded into a dull hum, and the ground seemed to tilt beneath her feet. Darkness crept in at the edges of her vision, and then everything went black. She awoke to the soft scent of lavender and the gentle touch of a familiar hand on her forehead. Her eyes fluttered open to see the worried face of her mother, a haven of warmth and love she hadn't seen in years, not since the divorce that had fractured their little family. "Oh, my sweet Kate," her mother whispered, pulling her into a comforting embrace. Kate clung to her, the dam of her emotions breaking as she sobbed out her story. Her mother held her tight, stroking her hair and whispering soothing words until sleep finally claimed her, a sleep filled with fitful dreams of a lost gray shadow. The next morning, a strange sight greeted Kate as she rubbed the sleep from her eyes. A large cardboard box sat in the corner of her room. Curiosity tugged at her, and as she sat up, the box rustled. And then, with a joyful bark, a familiar gray head popped out. "Shadow!" Kate gasped, her heart leaping with pure, unadulterated joy. She scrambled out of bed and threw her arms around her beloved puppy, showering him with kisses. But confusion quickly followed the elation. "Mama," she asked, her voice filled with wonder. How is he here?" Her mother smiled gently. "It's a bit of a story, my love. Yesterday, I was passing by the animal market on my way to buy cat food. And then, I saw you. You were lying on the ground, unconscious. I was so scared, Kate. Some people nearby told me what had happened, about your father selling your dog. They even remembered seeing you with a little gray puppy. So, while you were sleeping, I went back to the market. I found the shop and, sure enough, there was a little gray dog who looked just like the one they described. So I bought him back for you." Tears welled in Kate's eyes once more, but this time, they were tears of pure happiness. She hugged Shadow tightly, then turned and wrapped her arms around her mother, burying her face in her kind embrace. In that moment, surrounded by love and with her faithful companion by her side, Kate knew she was finally safe. They would face whatever came next together.